presented by Botano. It's time to dig in deeper as to what's going on with the William Nylander situation. And quite honestly, it's not much. The latest reports, Rosie, suggest that negotiations are not going well. Chris Johnson, of course, saying he believes the Nylander camp wants north of $10 million per season.
Seems a bit high. Yeah, man. I don't know. It's tough. I understand why it's not going that way. What would you do if you're Willie Nylander? You still have a contract for this season. There's no rush. Um, you're gonna try to maximize everything you can, and so is your agent. You're gonna play hardball, and so are the Leafs. And I don't know why everyone's just assuming this thing's gonna get done this week. Like, it doesn't have to get done this week. And I don't know, when I was playing, like, it wasn't always as common as it is now, I don't think, to extend your contract before the last year's done. Just like Dubas last year, he's like, I have a year left in my contract. Or maybe it was Keefe. He's like, I don't need to re-sign right now. I'm going to, extend the full, term of my contract, and then we can reconvene. But it's like, they have to get this done right now. And I understand why you want to. You want to know where your cap situation is. You want to know what you're looking like down the road. But it's like, Willie's going to play hardball, and so are the Leafs. And I can understand why they're not, coming to a term, especially when Willie's looking for over 10. Like, do you think you can get that in the free agency market next year, over 10?
Well, that's what I'm starting to wonder, because again, we think, and key phrase being we think, the salary cap's going to go up significantly next summer, and that's why I think you're seeing a lot of these players sign 1-year deals or 2-year deals, because we expect the cap to rise exponentially the next couple of years. But I think it's more so the thinking that there has to be an element of purpose to this whole situation, because if you have to shift, Rosie, you have to try and trade this guy. Like, I guess what we're getting at is the likeliest scenario is that he doesn't re-sign, but they enter the season with Willie Nylander walking himself to free agency. And I just think that scares a lot of people, quite frankly.
Yeah, and I mean, if it gets down to the nitty gritty and we're coming up to trade deadline, and depends on what's going on and what we need and where we're sitting, you could see a deal get done then. Maybe it gets done this summer. It's tough to say, man. But if they really believe they're not going to get a deal done and they're going to lose him to free agency, they're not going to let that happen, obviously. But it's just we have this core four. He seems to be one of the guys who has been performing the last year or so. And I guess in his mind that equates to an X dollar value. And it seems like, in the past, Toronto has kind of panicked saying, oh my God, we can't lose this guy, and they overpay. And I think they've done that before. I don't think Treliving is going to do that again. And whether something big happens in the next, week or month is yet to be seen. But so far, it doesn't look like Willie's willing to take, a discount. And I can understand that. Not many players do. If you're in the, John Tavares camp where, you've made lots of money on Long Island, you're playing your blah, blah, blah. Like, it's not as big of a deal. But for Willie Nylander, he's a little younger. This is one of his prime contracts. He's not going to say, I'm going to take a big cut, even though no one else did, to come back to Toronto and try to do something. Yet, is he pricing himself out of the team? I guess that's up for you to decide. But be fun to when all the analytics get side by side each other and their comparables get going. Is he worth that or not? I think that'll be the debate.
It certainly is. And to me, the negotiation is a pretty simple one. And maybe that's why I'm not in this league and an executive in this league, but it's like pretty simple. Do you want the Meyer extension or do you not? If it's not Timo Meyer money, I'm sorry, pal. Like, you're done. I think at the end of the day, Willie Nylander and his camp needs to figure out how badly he wants to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. If he wants the money, then so be it. He's not going to get it with this team. Like, and they've been down this road before with this guy, right? Like, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago where he walked the team, and both sides, I mean, were at fault that year, but they made it within seconds of him being eligible to play, period, that season. So, like, I think at the very least, the Nylander camp has showed how far they're willing to go here. And that's what concerns me. Like, I don't really see a pathway where there's a resolution from the Toronto perspective that makes sense. Like, the only way they're going to keep him is that they overpay.
Yeah, it's looking that way. And if one thing he's proven for sure that we know, it's that, he's not bluffing. He's willing to sit out. He's not scared to do that kind of thing. He's done it before. So, if he's that stubborn and hard nosed, and, that's not a shot at him. If that's where his head's at and he says, I'm worth this and I'm not willing to take a dime less, then there's going to have to be something that gets done, and I don't think he's going to take a big haircut. But does he see the light? Does his agent sit him down and say, here's what here's what the comparables are, whether you think you're worth this or not? It may not be in the cards, even if you go to free agency, even if you get dealt at the deadline and hook up with another team that needs you or wants you, there's nothing to say that you're going to be in a different situation if you hold out. So it'll depend what they're going through in their camp, what their heads at, where their mind space is, and how they are doing, looking at the different comparables. And if he still believes, and his agent believes, that he's worth X, and it's just not in the cards for Toronto, then he's not going to be a Toronto Maple Leaf. Simple as that. But I mean, if he understands that, maybe I'm shooting a little bit high, maybe the cap won't get up, maybe my comparables are a little bit off, maybe they can get something done. But right now it looks like they're pretty far apart.